Okay, on this episode of the LPDS, we're talking about favorite TV show dads. From all those sitcoms and TV shows we watched as children on TGIF in the 90s, early 2000s, whenever you were a kid and watching those shows, everybody had a favorite TV show dad from any era. And we're going to talk about them, talk about why they're so well liked or whether they were their favorite. And I'll give you my inputs, my opinions on who I like the best, who I didn't like. We'll get into some current events and another wild Cage fact coming at you right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti. Hope everybody had a good week. Mine was pretty decent, busy, a lot going on in the world. Had a roof leak, so I had to deal with that. Skylight area, kind of a couple feet away. Heavy downpouring going on this past week. Last week, whenever you're listening to this. And water finally leaked through. It was dripping off one of the beams in my living room. And I got to get that taken care of. So maybe, hopefully, by the time you listen to this, it'll be taken care of. I don't know yet, though. As of the time of recording, it is still up in the air on that. It's not dripping anymore. It's not leaking anymore. It was only during that heavy, heavy downpouring. But it identified a problem that I need to get fixed because I can't have that. Now, the only reason I even noticed it, stupid me, is I was getting ready to go to bed last night, the night before of recording, and I heard some dripping, and first I thought it was a sink, obviously, and it wasn't the sink. And I'm looking around everywhere where it could possibly be. And then I just happen to look up and I see it dripping from the beam. And the reason I didn't see it, now here, I'm going to paint you a picture because I don't mind admitting my stupidity at times, okay? We're human beings. I might be a smart, capable human being, just like all you, but we do have missteps, human moments, if you will. So this drippage, I was going to say, if you will, again, I just said it 15 seconds ago. I got to think of a new saying. This drippage occurred 4 feet away from me, just to my left, right next to the couch. At the end of the couch, it was dripping down on the ground, on the floor. And I didn't notice it because I was hitting the sticks with my friends. We were playing video games online. I had a headset on very similar to this one here in YouTube land, if you're watching. And I couldn't hear it happening right in front of my big fat nose. And it wasn't until I ended sticks that I noticed it. Luckily, it wasn't dripping on the couch. It was just off to the side. So the couch caught, a couple of like residual collateral water shrapnel off the side. But I put a cooler underneath. That's the only bucket I have because my garage is still not unpacked, so I don't know where my standard buckets are, my 5-gallon buckets. And I put some tarp down and some blanket around just in case it doesn't hit the cooler or whatever. But it stopped, which is good for now, but got to get it fixed, so I'm dealing with that. That's just stuff you got to deal with as an adult that I don't like. And I know people are, well, this is what happens when you own a home. I've heard that so many times, this is what happens when you own a home. This stuff happened when I rented a home too. And while the landlord was paying for it, yours truly was still dealing with the fallout of it. So I don't like, there's absolutely still no regret that I bought a home I have a warranty, so that should cover it. Should be good with that. But I have to deal with it either way. It might be coming more out of my pocket. Got it. That hurts. I don't like that. But I don't like that whole idea of like, oh, this is what happens when you're not home. You gotta deal with everything. I gotta pay for everything now. Absolutely correct on that end. Don't like doing that. But as a renter, you got to deal with that too. And hopefully you have a good landlord to get things fixed fast enough that you don't have to deal with it for too long. Otherwise, you're going to sit there for a month and a half in the middle of summer with no air conditioning, dealing with that like I have in the past. So that's what I got going on here at the house. But otherwise, it's been a good week. I'm getting a lot of progress done in life. So that's good. Finding ways to work out when I can't get to the gym, which is I haven't been able to get to the physical gym in a couple weeks now. But I've been doing a lot of working out at home to make up for it. Been doing sprints in the backyard with Randy. Been doing a lot of push-ups and pull-ups and how you doings. I've been lunging from my office here in the LPDS studio to the kitchen back and forth every time I had to go get something, so I could get my lunges in and get work that way. So I'm finding a way to make it work. It's been doing okay. And I started doing this breath work stuff. Now, I learned it from somebody that apparently it's supposed to help with, like, I don't want to say channeling emotions because it's not channeling emotions, but it's allowing you to feel your emotions a little bit more naturally and let them go naturally, as opposed to bottling anything in and letting it stew and steam up inside of you, so that you're a little bit more okay, with life. Things are going to be going a little bit better. When you bottle up your emotions, it never ends well. You think the problem or the feeling is gone, that angry feeling, sad, whatever it is, you think it's gone, but it's stuck somewhere deep inside the bod. And you got to let that out, because if you don't let it out appropriately, you're going to blow up on somebody. It's going to be bad, or you're going to spiral into some sort of depression, or what have you. So I've been trying this breath work. I was turned on to this fella named Wim Hof. It's spelled just like it sounds. Go check him out on his YouTube. You can look up like Wim Hof breath work for jabronis, and there'll be a beginner video. It's pretty cool. I haven't felt any sort of emotional changes yet, but a couple things that I've noticed that have been more positive for me anyway. One, a lot more calm at night. I can do it right before bed, and I feel good going to bed after I do a couple, do the rounds of breath work. It gives you like a little tingly pins and needles, kind of how you doing, feeling in your body when you're working through it. And it kind of relaxes me. So that's good going to bed. The second thing is I've been getting so much better sleep doing it. So I don't know if I'm not feeling any sort of emotional way during it, because I've been getting my emotions out organically anyway, and I'm good, or I'm doing this wrong, or I'm dead inside. I don't know what it is, but I haven't felt that portion yet. Apparently the idea is like the oxygen flowing through your body flushes all that stuff out of you. And it's not like a detox, like you're doing toxins and weird stuff like that, but it is weird in its own right. We probably should have talked about it on that unique health trends episode we did a few weeks back, but nobody talked about it then. I didn't know about it, even existing. So here we are now. But if you're looking for anything to try to get better in your life, it can't hurt to try. Worst case scenario, it doesn't do anything, and you just stop doing it, and you're good and you're fine. Things are fine. So if you're interested, give it a shot. It's been working pretty well for me. It's been doing positive things for me. I don't know if it's working, but I'm having positive effects of it. So anyway, not a whole lot of things going on in the current events world that I want to really talk about. There's some sort of secret bill going on in Congress right now. I say secret is because the media is not covering it. They're covering other nonsense like the Trump indictment, which we already covered before. We were ahead of the game on that. We called the shot, and then it happened, and that's that. We're not going to talk about that anymore because that's nonsense. But apparently there's this bill that's it's supposed to protect national security in the United States from foreign bad actors from doing bad things with data. Essentially, that's essentially what they're saying it's doing. It's like any foreign-owned apps or social media or internet stuff that involves data collection and data mining and what have you with data. The U.S. is going to, it's at their will, the government's will on whether they allow it or not, or they can control or they monitor or whatever it is. It is very ambiguous. It's very confusing. And it gives a lot of leeway for the government to do a lot of things in the control department over us without having to actually tell us what they're doing and why. It's very reminiscent to me, so far anyway, of the Patriot Act from years ago. Now, I didn't read all of this new bill yet, and it actually hasn't gone through yet. The reason I bring it up is because it is another example of this weird stranglehold that the government puts on people without telling anybody, and they do it with this very gray area, ambiguous language that's confusing enough that we don't understand it, and we don't ask questions about it, and it gives them all the leash to do whatever they want because they know that. And this is not a conspiracy tinfoil hat time. This is what we know. This happens. We know this to happen. The Patriot Act is the perfect example of that. I studied that very, very intensely in college when I was doing a Homeland Security degree, and I dealt with it a lot in my career in the military because it's a lot of the stuff taps all the things I was doing in the military, and I learned, like I said, I learned about it in college, so I had to be knowledgeable on it. But it was a lot of that. It was a lot of very ambiguous language with a lot of buzzwords that made us think, oh, this is here to protect us. But basically what it is was, what the Patriot Act was we're going to do a lot of cool things that collect information on you and spy on you inside the United States, and we're going to blanket it underneath like suspected terrorism or other ambiguous language that's going to be used to buzzword protect the American people from buzzword terrorists so that we don't have any more 9/11s, buzzword. And as you saw years later, when old Ed Snowden committed a crime and leaked all that information, like the hero he was, you saw a lot of the stuff that the government was doing that was blatant spying, and how it devolved from, we're just going to go after specific groups that are clearly trying to do terrorist things in the U.S. Now they're just spying on regular people for no particular reason. I mean, you can put the tinfoil hat on for that on some of the people that they were doing spy stuff on, but we're not going to get into that here. Long story longer, this bill is very similar in that nature, where they're using the scare of TikTok and China trying to spy on us and this and that. So we're going to protect the American people like we know how by creating bills that give us all the power and control. That's the only way they know how. They're not very good. Our government is not very good at actually protecting us, as you could see by school shootings and going to wars for no particular reason and a whole bunch of other stuff that we're not going to get into today. They're not really good at actually protecting us. They're very good at throwing buzzwords like protection and national security and safety into these bills that give them overarching reach and power that they shouldn't have. So please look into that. Be aware of that, what's going on, while the other malarkey is happening, in our faces. This stuff is going on behind the scenes. All bunch of distractions. What did we talk about? What did we say last week? If just focus on yourselves. Okay, don't let those distractions become important parts of your lives where you're fighting with family and friends and other people, around you over stuff that's really not that important. Okay, focus on yourself. following the big three, becoming a better human, more successful in life, and things will be okay otherwise. So speaking of following the big three, and then we'll get into the cage. There was another. I'll just preface with this. Customer service, we called it dead almost 2 years ago now with the whole Lowe's debacle and the grill situation, that two-parter. Customer service is still dead overall. Okay? There might be signs of life. I'll get into that in a second. Excuse me. But it's still very much dead otherwise. 98% dead. Rotting corpse with a couple of like nose hairs still alive and growing and trying to revive customer service industry. I'll give you the quick story because I don't want to get all heated about it again. I posted on this site. It was like a job, not a job site, but it was a job site. Posted for like one-time jobs, sort of like a Craigslist was before it got into the sex work and killery stuff. And I was looking for someone to do a job for me, some videographer stuff for the business, not for dirty creep sex stuff. It was for the business. And something went wrong with the post. They pulled the post and then they suspended my account. I didn't know about it until I tried to log in to get an update. And they're like, oh, your account's suspended. You should have got an email, which I didn't. So I submitted the ticket to go to customer service. No one ever got back to me there. I tried calling a phone number, and 2 hours later and 4 people later, they were still unable to get me any sort of answers or help. I ended up talking to the salespeople because when you call the customer service number, nobody answers. And I talked to 3 salesmen and a sales manager because I knew, and I told them, I said, I called this number because I knew you'd pick up. I knew a human would pick up because it involves sales and making profits, and that's what a business tries to do. And we went on for about an hour, almost each person. It ended up being like 2.5 hour call. And long story short, they didn't have any ability to talk to anybody in customer support to find out the reason why my account got suspended and then eventually closed, actually. They had no ability to do that. I went on a tirade, not at them because they were trying, but just in general of how ridiculous it is that customer service people don't exist in that office. I said a lot of stupid stuff. Like, I told them that if they were to walk over to the customer support section of their office, would it just be tumbleweeds rolling around? And then I suggested to the sales manager that she apply for a different company and take her talents elsewhere because a company who can't support a customer and retain a customer is a company doomed to fail. And I said a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm trying to think. I was livid. And I made sure I repeated to them. I wasn't mad at them, but particular, just at the whole fact that this is malarkey. And I didn't follow the big three, and I was a definite failure in that sense of not, unleashing negativity into the world because of my emotions. So that was a fail. And I wanted to bring it to you for accountability because you guys are my accountability buddies, and I got to get better at that. So with that, I don't think there's anything else worth even mentioning this week. I'm sure other stuff went down this past week. I didn't pay attention enough to remember it. It didn't strike me as important enough. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Nothing important went on in the world. Enough. Real quick. No updates on Epstein. Shocker. For the list to be released. Real shocker. I did see one thing where Senator John McCain's wife was on some sort of talking presentation interview situation, and she said that everybody in Congress knows about what Epstein was doing, but they didn't have the ability to go after him because nobody would touch the case and investigate. So at least somebody is admitting that they knew the whole time what's going on, but she couldn't understand why no one was touching the case. We all know why, though. It's because everybody who can touch the case was actually touching other children instead, and they're all involved in it. So they can't prosecute when they're the suspects and the criminals. Anyway, I think that's all that went on. If I remember anything throughout the episode, I'll let you know. But I'm pretty sure that's the only other thing of import that went on. So with that, we'll get to the good stuff. We're in the Junction. We're talking about TV show dads. Very excited about that one. But first, we'll step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Peeping Tom's military-grade binoculars. Are you a suburban wildlife or scenery enthusiast, but are sick and tired of not being able to enjoy your hobby from the privacy of your own bedroom? Well, now you can with Tom's binoculars. Tom's untested night vision zoom technology not only allows for maximum zoomage, but you can do it all at all hours of the night. So if you're looking to admire a red-breasted robin perched outside Mrs. Bennett's bedroom window from the comfort of your own bedroom at night, then visit www.bodaciousbinoculars.com and use the promo code PIGEONPEEPER for 29% off your first pair. I don't know if we jumped the shark on these sponsors. I need to get a real sponsor. I can't be sponsoring Peeping Tom's peeping devices. Can't be doing that anymore. I have to have a little bit better of an ethical moral code when it comes to sponsor picking. Anyway, the Cage Fact. Got Renfield coming out very soon, 14 April. So by the time whenever some of you might listen to this, it could be already out. Get your asses to the theaters and check it out. Doing Renfield, he plays Dracula. One of the things he did for the role is let me preface a little bit. Let me paint the picture, set the scene. He's got to have vampire teeth, okay? And as we know in Vampire's Kiss, when he put on the plastic gag teeth from the Party City store, the little costume store that he went to in that movie, it was obviously fake because he wasn't a real vampire in that movie. He just thought he was. But he has to be a real vampire in this movie. And he wanted to make sure that the teeth, like the veneer mold custom to his mouth, fit in so that he can talk normal. He didn't have any sort of impediments or lisps or anything unnecessary. He could just be normal and talk like they were his teeth and not like a new retainer or a mouth guard. So one of the things he did two things. The other thing I'll get into a future Cage Fact. But one of the things he did was he filed down his real teeth so that when they gave him the mold of the custom veneers for the vampire teeth, they gave him a little more room to put those puppies in his mouth so he can talk regularly and really get into the character. Okay? If anybody thinks that this guy is not dedicated to his career and mastering his career, you better take a hike right now. Unsubscribe, unfollow, don't listen anymore, don't like or dislike, don't tell your friends or enemies. I don't want you part of the Junction. Okay? Say what you want about his success in the movies, how good they do in the box office, but don't ever tell me that this guy is not a dedicated worker. Dedicated to not just the art, but the career, doing his job as best as he can. Unbelievable work ethic and talent. Unbelievable. So that's the Cage Fact. We'll move along. Moving on over into the Junction. We'll spin the logo up. Favorite TV show that I just remembered what I wanted to talk about before in the current events section, before we get into TV show dads. It had to do with customer service. The reason I said there's a couple of nose hairs still alive and growing and it's not completely dead is because, if you could see in YouTube land, I bought these I like to drink sparkling waters a lot lately. Especially these Mountain Valley ones. I've been getting them for several months now. Apparently, Gwyneth Paltrow was drinking them in court recently, and now it's popular, which is bullshit because I've been drinking it for almost 6 months now, and I can't get them in the stores anymore because of that bimbo. Anyway, I started ordering them online, okay, by getting them in bulk because I could save a couple of shekels, and I have them now in bulk. I don't have to keep going to the store to get them. Well, I ordered the sparkling water, and they accidentally sent me just the Flat Spring regular water, the peasant water in a bottle. I hit them up, the company that was selling it, not the Spring Valley itself, but the company that was selling it on Amazon. I told them the situation. You don't normally get refunds or returns on certain Amazon orders, but you're allowed to hit them up and let them know, hey, I got the complete different order that I wanted. Just to let you know, can we find a resolution? They came back to me within minutes. Minutes of me sending that email out. Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. Sorry for the inconvenience. We apologize profusely. Can you send us a picture of what you received in the mail? And we'll figure out a resolution thusly. Sent them the pictures of the bottles in the box. And they're like, oh, damn, you're right. We messed up. They said that, we apologize. We screwed up. We screwed the pooch. They didn't use those terminologies, but we'll refund you, or you can send it back and we'll eventually send you your right product. And I was like, look, I'll just take the refund because it's water. Really not that big a deal. It's a first world problem to order sparkling and get regular water, peasant water, but I could be a peasant for a little bit, especially if it's on the brotch, if you will. Free refund. So I got the refund. Again, all within minutes. I got the package. I saw it was incorrect. I shot him an email. 20 minutes total later, I have a refund back in my pocket, and I got waters. And I even wrote back to them. I said, thank you so much for understanding and taking accountability. You don't see customer service like that anymore. I really appreciate you guys doing this. And they said, thank you. That means a lot to us. So it meant a lot to me. So that's why I say it's not completely dead, because there are still people out there who understand that it's not just about sales and new customers. It's about customer retention and customer support and service. That's the best way to keep profits coming in, is return customers. You provide a service and a product that keeps them coming back for more. Not this malarkey that they do at Lowe's and other places like that. Anyway, the Junction. We're talking about family show or TV show dads. Family sitcoms, TV shows from back in the day, currently, whatever you want to call it. And the TV show dads, particularly the dads this time, and we'll get into TV show mothers later on, obviously. That's a topic that we want to discuss because I like silly topics like this. TV show dads don't get a lot of credit. A lot of the times you see they're kind of dopey and they make a lot of mistakes. They do a lot of hijinks going on with these TV show dads, and it's always like the TV show mom that comes in and has to let them know, like, hi, I'm the adult in the room, and set them straight. It's like that in commercials now. It's terrible in commercials. The husband or dad in any commercial is the stupidest, least capable, most incompetent human being in the history of the world. I don't understand why they do that. They think, like, I guess they're trying to reverse reality. Not that women are stupid and incompetent, but the reality of the situation is that people are not that incompetent. Husbands are not that incompetent. We just like to joke about it, and these ad agencies take it seriously. They're like, oh, maybe it's true. We like to joke about it, and then they take it seriously, and then we're looking at this like, what's going on? Anyway, I'll probably get canceled for that. Whatever. TV show dads. A lot of feedback from this one. Some people gave reasons why, which I believe I asked for in the video that I posted about it. Some people just started rattling off a list of TV show dads. I don't know which ones their favorite are. Maybe they couldn't choose, so they just sent a whole bunch. But we're going to talk about them. I'll give my little spiel on each of them, on why I think they might like them. But some people just left the mystery of it all and just put a name, and that was it. So whatever. Anyway, we'll get right into it. This first person put, actually, I think I have the notes on my computer. I don't know why I'm looking down at this notepad here in YouTube land. The first person put, they liked Tim the Toolman Taylor and also Arthur Spooner. And if you don't know who that is, he's Carrie, played by Leah Remini in King of Queens. It's her father who lives with them, who lives in the basement of Carrie and Doug Heffernan's house. He liked him, the two-man Taylor, because he was like that gruff man's man and this and that. And then Arthur Spooner, I just guessed on that, by the way. He didn't put why he liked him, two-man Taylor. I just guessed because I also like him. So, and he was funny, and he had a lot of good, quick jokes, little quips, little smart aleck quips that I like. I like that banter back and forth that people do, and that he did. So, like I said, I'm just guessing that this person liked it for the same reasons. I don't know. Arthur Spooner also didn't put why, but I could guess why on this one, because if you watched King of Queens, Arthur Spooner was a fantastic character in that. When we're talking his ability to be a good father, probably not the best example. Okay? He's not quite as bad as Zach Morris's father. I think it's Derek Morris. I think that was his name, or Brandon Morris. I don't know. From Saved by the Bell, that was submitted by Bone Crusher as a bad TV dad who was just full of himself. All he cared about was work and money and didn't care about his kid and let his kid do everything. And if you watch Saved by the Bell, you know Zach Morris was a troublemaker. Anyway, he's not as bad as that, but Arthur Spooner did do some stuff that you would file under the bad dad category. Like the time Carrie got into a college and Arthur didn't want her to leave, so he took the acceptance letter and hid it from her, and she never saw it until 40 years later. Stuff like that. But he's a fan favorite because of stuff like that, because he was absolute jabroni, and the way he talked and the ideas he had and the schemes. He was Kramer in Doug Heffernan's world and Kevin James's world almost, except an old man. He was like old man Kramer, but also not a great person either. So thank you for that submission. It was brought back some good memories of the Tool Man and Arthur Spooner. All right, this person here, they wrote Jack Geller from Friends. That was, God, I forgot his name. Elliot Gould, I think, played Jack Geller. And that was Monica and Ross's dad. And he was good because, again, he was an entertaining character. He tried to be a good father. He did obviously play favorites because everybody loved Ross with his little science trophies and this and that, and they babied him because he was a big-time geek. But he always told it like it was, no matter who he was talking to, his kids or strangers or other people. He gave him the straight, honest truth of what he felt about things, whether you liked it or not, and he was no nonsense in that regard, and I can appreciate that. So thank you for that submission. This next one here, again, this was just a list of names. There's a lot of names here. First one's Danny Tanner, Full House. I got him a couple times on the list. He's an obvious choice. He's a fan favorite for a lot of people. Single dad, widower, has to take care of his kids, his growing children, 3 girls, plus he was housing his destitute brother-in-law. I don't know. I think was it Uncle Joey? Yeah, with the beaver puppet, Dave Coulier. I think it was the wife's brother. I don't remember exactly what kind of uncle he was, but he took him in under his wing and lived there, and Uncle Joey helped take care of them. And then he had his sex-crazed other brother-in-law or brother or whatever, Uncle Jesse, living there, doing rock band stuff, boinking Aunt Becky in the attic. And then they had their own kids of their own, and he had to corral them all together. And then he had that psychopath Kimmy Gibbler next door breaking and entering on a regular basis to eat their food, and and bother this poor bastard. You wonder how he wasn't an alcoholic in the show. But he tried to find a way to figure it out. And he was also, a working father, full-time working father. So hats off to Danny Tanner. Rest in power, Bob Saget. All right, the next on this guy's list, Tony Soprano. Again, no reason why. He was entertaining. He and I think somebody else put this, and actually they gave some reasons that he would kill for his family. And always, did whatever he could to put food on their tables and take care of them financially, which is true. But when it comes to father figures, he was not a great dad. He did the standard study and go play sports and don't be a bitch, stuff like that. But then he was out there practically living at the strip club, banging everything that moved that wasn't his wife. And then coming home and getting pissed if his penne pasta wasn't warm enough, and then he would go pass out somewhere. So, like I said, fan favorite, I guess. I don't know why it's your favorite. Again, this is part of a long laundry list that was provided to me with no context whatsoever. The next person is Frank Costanza. Love Frank Costanza. Why do I like Frank Costanza? Because he's almost the same as Arthur Spooner from King of Queens, and not just because of the same type of character, but because they're also both played by Jerry Stiller. And he took what he mastered in Seinfeld as Frank Costanza, and he brought it over to Arthur Spooner in King of Queens. But Frank Costanza, loud Italian, yells at everybody, not a great father again. But you could tell he cared about his son in the most Italian New York way you possibly could. And he is a mainstay in the TV sitcom dads category. All right. What else we got from the same list? Same list, same guy, same list. No context. Alan Matthews. I believe that's from Boy Meets World. Not Fred Savage. Ben Savage played Corey Matthews. And Alan Matthews was his father. That's all I remember from that. He wasn't a bad dad. They had a pretty good family. Wholesome dad. Top tier dad, I guess. I don't remember him too much. The next guy, Frank Lambert. Now, if you don't know Frank Lambert, you might remember from TGIF the show Step by Step. And Frank Lambert was the father there. And he shacked up with Suzanne Summers. Now, they had a sort of like a new age Brady Bunch situation going. Frank Lambert had 3 kids of his own. I believe he was a widower, or he killed his wife or something like that in a construction accident. I don't know what it was. But Suzanne Summers was also a single babe with 3 kids of her own. And they shacked up and started doing stuff together. And then they brought the whole family to, in the same household and under the same roof, except for their one kid. Was his name Toby? Or Cody? I think it was Cody, and he lived in like some RV in the garage or in the driveway or something like that. Or I don't know exactly where he lived, but he lived on the property, separate from the house. Strange, good show, decent father. He tried. Moving on over, Philip Banks. I got him a couple times. I got him one time. The Wet Cat submitted Uncle Phil, as well as Phil Dunphy. Not because they're both named Phil and the Wet Cat's name is Phil, but because they're good TV show dads. But this person also put Philip Banks on there. And you might think, well, his character was Uncle Phil. He wasn't a dad. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize he was the dad in the show. He was Carlton's dad. The other 2, Jabronis, I don't know why I'm blanking on their names. Hillary and not Jasmine, whatever her name was, the other, the youngest daughter. And then he took in Will. I'm losing it here, all these names. He took in his nephew, Will, from West Philadelphia, born and raised. And he raised him as a father. And what I liked about that show, because the one thing that you noticed in these TV show sitcoms, especially from the 90s and early 2000s, mainly 90s, was that they weren't realistic in the sense that like all this crazy stuff happened. That happened because they wanted to have people laughing and coming back and watching the show. Okay, they were trying to sell something here, sell viewership, so they had to keep you coming back. So all this crazy stuff was happening that wasn't necessarily realistic. But what they did was they tried to make some of the inner monologues of these people and the situations as realistic as possible in that regard when it comes to taking care of your children and teaching them lessons and being parents, issues that parents have to deal with. So what I liked about Fresh Prince and Uncle Phil was that these people were loaded. Uncle Phil was a big-time judge in California for all the richies and the celebs out there. Their family was super rich, okay? And it's tough to relate to the super rich because we're just regulars. We're regular paupers drinking peasant water. So we can't relate. But the thing that you don't really remember about the super rich is that they're still people. And while a lot of them hire a team of folks to go raise their children so they don't have to, because they're really not great people overall, there's still some that take care of their kids and have families and try to raise their families and be parents. And they have still the same parent problems. Children are children. Rich children, poor children, ugly, good looking, whatever. They're still kids and they still have the same sort of growing pains and things that they have to learn and things that parents have to deal with growing up. And the show did a good job of showing that, of illustrating that even though these people are rich, they're still regular human problems. And these are two parents doing regular, normal, good parenting things and trying their best and not schlepping it off on a team of people to raise their kids. They had a butler, but people have cleaning ladies and housekeepers, regular poors like us do. They probably shouldn't because they can't afford it, but they do. So he wasn't, that wasn't a super rich thing in my opinion at all. But they did a good job, and that's what I liked about that show, and that's why Philip Banks is up there for me too. The next person on this guy's list was Carl Winslow, and he is my top 2 pick as well, for a number of reasons, and a couple people put Carl Winslow, a lot of people could put Carl Winslow, and it's for a lot of reasons. One, Carl Winslow was a cop in Chicago. Okay? Now, the show did a good job in hiding just how ridiculously dangerous and crazy that job really is in real life. Okay? They kind of made it out that he was just like a beat cop in Chicago eating donuts, similar to what he was doing in Die Hard when he was over in LA before he got transferred to Chicago and he had to go save Nakatomi Plaza. But then he got over to Chicago, and there's real shit going on in Chicago. I don't know if you checked out their local news at all in the past 50 years, but it's dangerous. Okay? So he was a cop in Chicago full-time on the beat, on shift, and then he had to deal with his crazy family. He had his sister-in-law, I don't know if she was living there or showing up all the time, some single cougar out there on the prowl, bringing in God knows what into the house. His mother was there. She was very helpful, but she's still an old lady. Still got to take care of her. That's not easy. Then he had his stupid, dopey son Eddie Winslow, who he had to not micromanage, but he had to be a parent to. He had to watch over this kid. Was a dope. Played sports, he liked to perv on women, and he hung out with idiots like Waldo, Geraldo, Faldo. So he had to handle that. He had to be a parent to that after his shift was over. Then he had his youngest daughter, who I guess you could say he might have failed on, because in real life, after Family Matters, I think she became a porn star. I wouldn't consider that a failure. I would just consider that switching careers. But back in the day, people looked down on that. Anyway, then he had his daughter, Laura Winslow, who was apparently was just a magnet for sex-crazed creepos like that psychopath Steve Urkel, who I loved, by the way. I'm not dogging on Urkel. But that guy was a nerd. He didn't know how to approach women or talk to them, and he was horned up like a savage. I mean, we're talking early high school, teenagers, just right in the heart of their pubescent transformation into adulthood. And this guy's a nerdy introvert to begin with, so he's not filling his quota or answering the mail on making sure his hormones are appropriately adjusting. Okay? At least Eddie Winslow was probably getting some on the side and was able to learn and grow throughout his pubescent journey that way. Steve Urkel was just a horned up animal who wasn't getting it, wasn't getting anything. So whenever he saw Laura Winslow, he was a monster. He didn't know how to handle himself. He was all over her like a cartoon. Like one of those cartoon wolves where they're howling. Like Pepe Le Pew, the skunk, just couldn't control himself. So much so that this kid, this nerd, this super genius, created a machine, a transformation machine that turned him into a suave, smooth, and a sophisticated sex creep, sex-crazed teenager, so that he can actually get his way with Laura Winslow. And what did you know? She ate it right up. As soon as Stefan Raquel came out of that portal, that puberty portal, I mean, she was soaking her socks, for lack of a better term. And I apologize, Steve, put the kid away, family show, I know. But holy hell, was she all over Stefan Raquel. And all the while, it's the same guy. He just took his glasses off and put on some hammer pants, and next thing you know, he's smooth. He's a smooth criminal. Now imagine you're Carl Winslow and you're coming off the beat in Chicago getting shot at on the reg. You can't even finish a donut without getting shot at. You're coming home, you're dealing with Dopey Eddie, trying to make sure he doesn't impregnate some random girl. And then you have this sex-crazed creepo, geek, pocket protector coming into your house. And now he creates this sex portal so that he can transform into someone who actually does the deed. He's got to deal with that. I mean, if that doesn't make you a top-tier dad, I don't know what does. And he tried, and he failed a lot. And we saw him fail a lot, and he got angry, and he got emotional, and sometimes he didn't follow the big three all the time. And we got it. Like, we understood it. We can empathize with it. But he also tried to get better, too. He was always striving to get better and learn and grow so that he could be the best husband and father possible. He took that class where they taught him that saying to relax so that things would roll off his back a little bit better. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me? Don't you remember that? I sure as shit do. And he said it over and over again. And Steve Urkel would just keep digging and grinding and creeping on his daughter like Smeagol with the Lord of the Rings. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me? And sometimes things bothered him, but he tried. Okay, that's all you can ask for. A guy who cares about his family enough to try, damn it. And that's why he's a top 2 guy for me. Always trying hard. So thank you for that input there. Another person here put Phil Dunphy again, and he's a favorite. Another guy who tried hard. Tries super hard, really funny, just unintentionally funny. The character, not the actor. The actor is tremendous. I forgot his real name. But just tremendous character, unintentionally funny, would accidentally flirt with other women. He didn't know how to control himself. He was dopey, silly, stupid. But then again, he always actively and aggressively tried to be the best dad he could. And he made for a great, great TV show father. Great TV show dad. He's probably top 5 for me, I'd say. I didn't break out my list in the full top 5 or top 10, but I would argue he's up there. This next person here put Hal Wilkerson. Now, if you don't know who Hal Wilkerson is, It's the dad from Malcolm in the Middle, played by Tim Whatley. I forgot his real name. Damn it! I'm losing it here. I'll think of it eventually. But he's also Heisenberg in Breaking Bad. Damn it! What the hell is his name? I can't for the life of me think of it. I gotta look it up. I can't. I'm tapping in. Golden flag. I gotta look this up. Bryan Cranston. Got it. Nailed it. Bryan Cranston played Hal Wilkerson in Malcolm in the Middle and Heisenberg, Walter White in Breaking Bad. And Tim Whatley in Seinfeld, the dentist, the anti-dentist. He was a good father because he was trying to raise his kids, as best as he could. He also had to deal with his crazy wife, who was a mad woman. Now, I'm not saying it because I didn't really watch the show to begin with, and I certainly would never say this. But there are people out there in this world that have compared the wife on Malcolm in the Middle to Crazy Carol. Now, I am not the one doing that. It was not me. For the record, anybody listening out there, I would never. But some would say they bear a close resemblance, if you will. And I will. So, thank you for that input on Hal Wilkerson. Good dad. Next one here, this is a great one. They put Gomez Addams. Now, if you're thinking, oh, well, he's from the movie, he's not a TV show dad, he's a movie dad, I ask you to turn back the clocks of time a little bit to the black and white days of television when they did have an Addams Family TV show. And it was a little bit more campy and cartoonish and silly and not as dark and goth as it was in the movies, but the character was generally the same, cared about his family deeply, loved his wife deeply, did everything he could to be a good husband and father and brother. So great TV show dad. Like I said, a little bit silly and campy in that show from back in the day. I personally like Gomez Addams from the movies, because I do like that the darkness and the strangeness in that regard. But nonetheless, loving husband, adored his wife, did whatever he could to take care of his kids. In fact, I think I read somewhere years ago that they drew up Gomez Addams, at least for the movies. I don't know what, I can't speak to the TV show, but I remember reading this when the movies came out, that they drew up the characters of Gomez and Morticia Addams to be like parents and husband and wife, like the opposite of what you see in other shows in real life, where like the husband and wife, they don't get along, they hate each other, they despise each other now, they're cranky, they don't show affection, they're lazy with their kids, this and that. They try to do the opposite of that to show this is what a good relationship kind of looks like. So that's why I kind of liked him. So thank you for that. Now, this next one was probably the most answered TV show dad. This is why I say that for the last. And from when it comes to favorite TV show dads, not good human beings, not good dads and fathers, but overall favorite to watch and for entertainment and to see, the number one for me, and it seems like for most other people, Al Bundy from Married with Children. Now, if you haven't seen Married with Children, it's tough to watch these days on regular TV because they don't play it, because you can't really get away with it much anymore in this day and age on television. I don't know if it's on Netflix or not. Maybe it is, but they used to play it on TBS at like 2 or 3 in the morning. I used to watch it when I would come off of night shift when I was stationed up in South Dakota, or when I was deployed. We would be able to pop it on the TV. But Al Bundy and that show, Married with Children, was an all-time show. He's an all-time character. One of the funniest you'll see out there. 1,000,000,000%. I know that's not a real percentage, but you 1,000,000,000% cannot do the jokes and the storylines and the tomfoolery in that show that you can, you could back then. You can't do it anymore on TV unless you're on like HBO or one of those premiums, the premium channels. This guy, he peaked in, you can argue he peaked in high school, but he achieved great success in high school at Polk High, scoring 4 touchdowns in one game, the only person ever doing it in high school history at Polk High. And then he had to become, get into the working force. He had to become a working man. And he supported his depend-upon-his wife, Peg Bundy, who never worked, where he swiped it from the trailer parks pretty much because her family was a bunch of trailer trash in the show. He supported her, and he supported his dim-witted kids. His daughter, played by Christina Applegate, who was a bimbo and a complete dope, numbskull. I don't know what you want to call her. Complete dope in the show. He had to deal with her and the thousands and thousands of men that she attracted, and he had to fight them off. And then he had his son, who was very smart, but also a sex-crazed animal. And again, teenager in his, in the heart, in the prime heat, if you will. And he had to tame that beast. He was very much like Steve Urkel, where he wasn't really getting a lot. He was trying, but he was a shrimp. He didn't really grow much. I don't know if he had Oscar Schwatter or what, but he was trying, and at the expense of Al Bundy a lot. And Al Bundy had to go work at a female shoe store selling women's shoes day in and day out for pennies to put in his pocket. And then his whole family just took it from him. And he worked his tail off. And let me tell you something. Some of the best scenes in that show were when he's at the shoe store selling shoes. For whatever reason, only fat women would show up in these stores to buy shoes. So Al Bundy, definitely my favorite. One girl put that Al Bundy was her favorite because it was one of the only shows, like her. I guess she had a single dad herself, and he let her watch whatever she wanted on TV, and so she wanted to watch Married with Children, and he became her favorite TV show dad. So there you go. There's a lot of other TV show dads out there that we didn't talk about that people didn't mention, but those are the big ones. So thank you for that. We will get into TV show moms. I was hoping to get some of the single TV show moms that were doing it themselves because they were pulling weight for both, washing and drying, father and mother, but nobody really put that down. So we'll just talk about them in TV show moms whenever we do that. Maybe we'll do it the next week. We'll just have like a 2-part series. How you doing? But anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Good reminiscing about old fun shows we used to watch on TGIF back in the day when we were kids, or late nights if we were watching Married with Children when our parents went to sleep and they couldn't tell. Good stuff. Now, before we go, I'll give another business update. Like I said, I'm not going to try to do this too often, but as we're continuing to grow, LLC should be done by the time you're listening to this. But because it's not now, I don't want to put the name out there just yet. I'm sure some of you have probably already seen the Instagram page for it. Website is in the works. It's almost ready to rock and roll. The community app page that will be, you can download the app. It won't be the company specific app. I won't own the app, but it's an app that you can create community pages like an Instagram, and Facebook sort of app, but different. So stand by for that. That's all in the works, and it's progressing, trending positively, and we're moving forward. So that's the update on that. I won't get into it too much more otherwise. What else we got? That's it. Big three. Talk about the big three real quick, and then we'll wrap it up here, folks. Big three, for those of you who don't know, it's the 3 pillars of the LPDS to staying strong and being a better, happier, more positive, successful human being in your lives. Okay? Number 1, exercise every day, whatever you got to do. Do lunges from your desk to your kitchen and back. Do jumping jacks. Go for a walk after a meal. Short story on that, or the short reason for that is exercising every day will get you healthier physically, mentally, emotionally. Okay. If you don't know, if you want me to get further into it, look at previous episodes of the LPDS where I dig a little bit deeper into why that is. All right. Number 2, the hardest one to do is don't be a shitty person. Be a good person. Don't add to the negativity of this world. Don't act negatively on your angry, negative emotions. Take the step back. And just by your inaction and not doing something shitty or negative, you're helping the situation out because you're not adding to the negativity and the shit going on in the world. Okay? And I'll leave it at that. If you want to hear more about that, I go into great detail. Previous episodes, go check them out. Number 3, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. Okay? Randy, stop looking over there. I know you're excited to get out here, but you got to stop looking because I think people can hear you on camera. Be genuinely thankful and grateful for the good things and people and experiences and knowledge you have in your life. Okay? Take the time to actively think of one thing each day and think about your life, how it would be without that thing, and then you'll build that sort of like grateful mindset, that mindset filled with in gratitude and not, taking things for granted instead. Okay? So follow all those 3 things. You put them all together, and what do you have? The big 3: better, happier, more positive, more successful human being. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to hit the hotline, 202-670-1114. I hope everybody who celebrated Easter had a good Easter, because by the time this posts, it'll be Easter's, and the Easter Bunny will come and lay his eggs for you to eat. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends and enemies. Don't forget to do that so we can spread the good word of the LPDS, and everybody can be a part of this great family. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.